was. But just being like a weightlifting nerd, I was like, oh my God.
And I remember,
that's like a big deal coming from that. It'd be one thing if I said that to somebody and it's like, okay, yeah, I've been around a couple years, but it's like, no, this dude, this is his life, and it's been his life for a long time.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I've never seen anybody do that. That was impressive.
See, and you saying that, I still didn't know who the man was. Like, I can picture his face, and I remember like going around, like I like basically ran off the stage and hugged you, and I was like, yeah, like forget the rest of it. And then we go back, and I feel like it was almost like a standing room, and everyone was watching the TV, and it was almost like quiet. And I came down, and I feel like everyone turned and looked at us, and then he walked up to me, and I was like, thanks. And then it was just almost one of those.
Well, because everyone was doing that.
Yeah.
Everyone was like coming up to you and saying how impressive it was.
Yeah, felt like I was like the comeback kid in a movie where I get knocked down and then I come back and my own little Rocky moment.
Keep
Yeah.
me down. I just said it was Paul Doherty. It might have been Kevin Doherty.
Oh.
I don't really know who they are.
Me neither. So I don't.
I think they might be twins. I don't know, but I
Someone
know
I
I've
went to high
watched
school
interviews with both of them. But
They might be twins.
I think they are. Fuck. Yeah, not enough of a weightlifting nerd to know which one of them said
Great,
good job.
but I mean, I knew who he was.
But I know they do something.
Yeah, he was important.
So yeah, American Open was great. We ate at the steakhouse again.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it was great. Celebrated.
Well, it was funny because for the first couple of days, you and I were there like basically alone before Tyler came. And I felt like I told a couple people, I don't know if I even said this to you, but I was like, I felt like Xena and I were on dates.
Yeah,
like that's what it was like. We were like, different like areas of the hotel, but then we'd text, be like, what are you up to?
Yeah,
oh,
wanna
nothing.
meet me in the lobby?
Yeah, just watching TV in my room. Oh yeah, cool. Me too. You hungry?
Yeah.
Like,
and it was funny too because it was really the first time you and I had spent any time like coach athlete anywhere alone.
Right. Yeah.
Wink.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, so it was fun, and I feel like it definitely those trips, going into those, it's a different kind of like athlete coach relationship in a way, and you get a better understanding of just like who someone is, or and it was fun, and I definitely feel like coming out of it, we have a better understanding for each other.
Yeah.
Than when we went in. It was more of just kind of like, okay, like that's my coach, like I leave.
Right. Yeah.
And so,
well, and two, it's a lot different than going to a local meet where we've got 8 people lifting or whatever.
Yeah.
It was very much like we were there alone. We didn't really know barely knew anybody else who was there. So, that was a pretty fun experience.
Yeah. So that was about the best first nationals or first national meet I could ever hope for. Outside of
Chicago in a couple months.
Yeah. So, and now we get to go to Chicago.
2 months.
Which is on my bucket list. Never been to Chicago, and going for nationals, which I can't believe it's under 60 days away.
Yeah.
I need to book my ticket.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of surprised me how quickly it's popped up too, because I write everybody's programs on Sundays. And when I was looking at yours, I made a calendar for you the week after. I think maybe you took a week off or a light week or something after the American Open. But
did CrossFit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, once. One CrossFit workout. That was like a funny thing that I told you I'd never seen your face look that way when you were done.
Watch me like pass out, and I still look better than when I did a CrossFit workout.
So I had made a calendar for you specifically for the week after that. Up to the week of nationals, which obviously, and this is what I wanted to talk about a lot, is like program design and how like my approach to program design. But obviously you can't make a 5-month, 6-month program and then be like, yep, we're sticking to this no matter what. Because like things could change. You could be performing well or performing poorly. And it's like, okay, well maybe we do need to stick into this for a little bit longer. So it's like malleable, but I made like a rough outline of like, okay, if all goes according to plan, we're going to follow this.
Right.
And then when I was doing your programming today or looking at the calendar, I was like, shit, this is our last week of strength work before we start doing like traditional, just a traditional cycle of just like snatch, clean and jerk, snatch, clean and jerk, snatch, clean and jerk. And it's like, damn, it's already about that time.
It was a fast 4 months.
Yeah. So also the gym moved. Our location before, for anyone who's been here before or, follows us on Instagram, has seen pictures, it was like a 3,000 square foot building, but like the usable floor space that we had for like activities.
Exercising?
Yeah, for exercising was I don't know, like 1,800 ish. So it was pretty small, and we just moved into a building that is about 7,500 square feet.
Yeah.
So it's humongous. And
all the activities.
Yeah,
tons of room
so
for
many activities. My head is spinning. So yeah, we're sitting in the room right now, just looking around. But it's awesome. It was
8 platforms.
Yeah, we have 8. Well, so that was the way that our old gym was. Our old location, we had 8 platforms, but they were in a circle around the perimeter, and it wasn't a set like this is a weightlifting area, this is a CrossFit area. It was like everybody was pretty commingled, which I really liked because I think it made everyone feel like they're part of the same team as opposed to like, oh no, you've got the weightlifters and then you got the CrossFitters. And luckily, I feel like that mentality has transferred here, even though now it is separate.
Yeah.
But it was nice except for when the gym was really busy.
Yes.
Because it would be like 2 or 3 people on all 8 platforms, plus people spread out through the middle, plus like one person standing basically 2 feet away from the couch where everyone's kids are sitting.
Yep.
Like, yeah, it got
Foundations
crazy.
outside.
Right,
yeah. Getting
doing
creative.
like, the CrossFit fundamentals like literally outside when it was like cold or raining, and I was like, shit, well now we got to go inside, but there's no room. So yeah, it is much nicer being in this new building, and we do have 8 platforms built on the ground for weightlifting, which is fun. I get excited when I look at it. And then we've got, the whole CrossFit section, and there's obviously still some bleed over, as I think there should be. It's a good thing. But the new gym is great, and we do have our first weightlifting meet coming up here in like 4 weeks.
Woo!
Which will be fun because I think it's going to be a lot easier to set up and tear down because the warm-up area is already done,
it's gonna be great.
basically. So yeah, that's where we are now. I also got pneumonia.
Yeah, that was pretty awful. So sorry, it's been 4 months. I almost died, came back. Here for you.
What's kind of cool is when I got pneumonia, I was weighing like 83.3 kilos. And like
pretty cool.
Yeah. Well,
listen to how awesome this is.
Well, I compete at 77, or at least I did. And I was like, well, fuck, man, I'm getting fat. And so I was weighing like over 83. And when I got pneumonia, I went back down to like 78 and a half.
Yeah.
And I weigh 79 now.
Doing great.
It's awesome.
Yeah, pants fit,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is one good thing is now I can wear like medium and large shirts as opposed to like, I was like, well, shit, now I got to buy all new shirts. Because I want to eat more pizza. So yeah, I got sick and then lost a lot of weight, and it stayed off.
So far. Ooh.
Yeah, so far. But I did just sign up for a meet, and when it said, what's your weight class, it was a blank. And so I was like, oh, I can type this. And I wrote 77 or 85.
Ish, yeah.
And because I was thinking, like, I'm not going to cut for this. Who cares?
Yeah.
But then it was like invalid entry. And I was like, fuck. 77.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I got.
What's the prize for Sinclair?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Okay.
that is honestly the whole reason, because I was like, well, if no one good signs up for this meet, and today's the last day to register, so I'm not worried about any listeners hearing this.
Yeah.
If no one good signs up for this meet, I'm good enough to win. But if like the way it happens,
Good enough.
if people who are good show up, I'm not gonna win. I'm like the best of the people that aren't good. Like generally at most every meet, I'm the best of the people that aren't good. Like, and that's like the joke that I always make is like at like bigger meets now when they have like, the sessions, they'll usually split them by openers. And I went from being like top dog in the second to last session to being like bottom of the barrel in the best session, which sucks.
Yeah,
because it's like I went from being like, head held high, chest pushed out a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you guys are all in weight classes heavier than me, but I'm lifting more. Like, now to where it's like, shit, man, you mean I got to do all 3 before that dude goes?
Yeah. First lifter, Rob
Right,
Turner,
yeah.
2-minute clock.
Yeah,
1
exactly.
minute.
So yeah, that's my life.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully be 77 by the next time you hear my voice. You'll hear it. My throat will probably, it'll have a little more room for air to pass, and I'll change my voice a little bit. Okay, but yeah, so that's kind of where we are now. Again, hopefully we'll be back to a pretty normal schedule with doing the podcast and getting guests and everything. But what I wanted to talk about a little bit today is kind of my approach to program design. Just to give like a little bit of some content in with, us talking about our lives. So I guess, well, I was about to say I will show how the sausage is made, but you'll just see how my sausage got made, I guess. Really. Because
Let me.
like I can't speak to everyone who designs programs, but I can speak to how I do it and how I've learned over the past couple years, and Zena obviously can chime in with anything whenever you want.
Snatch, sausage, and jerk.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay, never mind. So, that being said, there are people who are way better at this than me and have been doing it way longer, obviously. But I feel like I always see on Reddit and in podcasts or people asking questions on any kind of weightlifting forum of any kind, it's always about like, what program should I follow? How do I do this? Like, how heavy should I squat if I'm doing this or whatever? And I feel like, just here's another little resource as to my thought process, because I feel like all this stuff, it seems really intimidating to like write a program. It's pretty simple. And you know what? If it didn't work, just try something different. Like, and eventually something's going to work. So, yeah. Fuck, there was something else I was going to say to that, but whatever. We'll just start.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, I've never written a program. I have never written a program for anyone. I've only followed your program, so this will be really interesting for me to kind of get into your like creative mind of kind of how you program or, get everything set up, especially setting up. I mean, I know going to the American Open, you had a 16-week program for me. And it was something, and you were like, so week 1 through 8. And I'm like, I'm just tell
right,
me,
yeah.
Just
Don't
tell me week
fucking
1.
do that. Yeah.
Like I don't even. And you're like, did you see what you have on Friday? And I'm like, no, I
you don't
only
even look days.
No.
It's funny because when James will give me my programs, I get so excited and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write all these down right now.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
I'll like have some alone time with my training notebook and like write down every single day and like make it look really nice and just sit and like flip through it and look and be like, oh my God, Wednesday's gonna be the best. Like,
nerding out.
Yeah, just totally. All right, so first step to making a program for somebody is I always decide if it's going to be technique driven or strength driven. And I guess part of that, like I would consider just a heavy snatch, clean and jerk, like a quote unquote, like traditional weightlifting cycle. I would consider more of a technical. I mean, that can kind of fall on like the Venn diagram, I guess that can fall on one side or the other. But is it going to be a technical based program where we're really trying to make you better at snatch, clean, and jerk, or maybe squatting if you suck at that, technically, or is it going to be something because you're not strong? And I don't really like to do both at once.
Yeah.
At least completely at once. So when someone new starts with a gym, I always will I tell them on the phone before they come in that they have to do a minimum of one-on-one session with me, where hopefully around like lunchtime when the gym is closed, I can schedule them coming in where we spend like 60 to 90 minutes and I just watch them lift.
Yeah.
So I guess what I always tell them, I'm like, look, just pretend I'm not here. I just want to see you do a couple heavy snatches and a couple heavy clean and jerks. But it never, after they get going, I'll start chiming in and be like, oh, hey, okay, let's stop doing that. Let's try this or whatever. But I use that as a basis also with knowing what their strength numbers are to determine what they need the most. So there is like the like Russian standard, whatever, of like you should be able to snatch 65% of your back squat and you should be able to clean and jerk 80% of your back squat. So like, I think, and if you've ever heard anybody say that before, what you've probably heard is like you can take that with a grain of salt because that's not an absolute, like, that's what you have to do kind of thing. But I think it is a really good frame of reference that if someone can snatch 55 to 63% of their back squat, like I just pulled that number out of my ass, but whatever. But if it's like relatively close, okay, they're pretty good at snatching. But what if they can only clean and jerk the same? Or what if their clean and jerk is only like 3 kilos more and that's only like 68% of their back squat? Then like, okay, you're not technically good at clean and jerks, but you are technically good at snatch. So that's where we need to put the focus. Or what if you're only snatching 30%. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, you suck at snatching. So